Hi everyone, my name is Coach Greg. Today I'm going to be talking to you about skills and ideas for developing a balance bike program. First, I'd like to talk about developing skills and how to develop skills for your athletes. First point I would like to talk about is your different athletes will come in at different skill levels, and that's okay. Not everyone's required to be at the same skill level. You'll have some with more experience and some with less experience, and that's going to be okay. Adding on to that, the second point is everyone should work at their skill level. So you'll have some athletes who will, be a little slower to progress. There'll be some that are like ready to get on the balance bike and like really want to go. But we're just going to work at their skill level. The third point I want to talk about is the different athletes will have different abilities. Some will be very active and energetic and ready to go. Some might have different physical disabilities where they might need an adaptation or a modification in order to be safe and ride the balance bike effectively. Also with that, some athletes might have cognitive or attention disabilities, in which case we'll be focusing on ways to motivate them and kind of get them in a routine of practice. The fourth thing I want to talk about is the program should be fun. It's a great opportunity to have fun. They can have fun with their peers and their siblings once they're able to get on a balance bike and master it, and it should be fun for everybody. The last part I want to talk about is focus on progress. So some kids might be able to progress really well. They're getting faster, more efficient on the bike. For some kids, progress will just be tolerating the bike more, getting their balance, getting their alignment right, and all that is great. Like I said, everyone will have different starting points, different abilities, and different rates of progress. All right, a really important skill for a balance bike is safety awareness. So let's review some different parts of safety awareness. So one part of safety awareness is safety with the bike. So this includes being able to handle the bike without hurting yourself, not dropping or falling on the bike and not throwing the bike. Also really important is wearing safety gear, which includes always wearing a safety helmet. All right, and then the second thing I want to talk about is safety around people and stationary objects. So this would be kind of just people standing around, stationary objects, including walls, other different things like benches, other things in the environment. A good thing to use for this skill would be cones, making sure they're able to avoid different obstacles. And it's really important to go over braking and steering away from them. Another area of safety awareness is safety for dynamic obstacles. So this would be other athletes riding their bikes around each other, so different moving parts. You want to practice a little bit like defensive driving, so educating the rider on when they should slow down, when they should brake, when they should steer away, not steering into a congested area, things of that nature. Another area is safety in the environment. So this would include, this is kind of what's in the area you're training with, but also when they take these skills home, what's around like their home or their the environment they're going to ride around in. So curbs, stairs, like how wide the sidewalk is, where the street is, knowing that kind of safety awareness of what's around you and what's safe to be around. Another important thing about safety awareness is always remember that safety comes first when practicing and also around the home environment. So we want our riders to be as independent as possible, but sometimes that might not be, they might need some verbal cues or visual cues. This will help the different athletes with decreased safety awareness. In this section, we're going to talk about getting on and off the bike safely. So there's different components to it: stepping over the bike, rigging the bike up, and sitting on the bike. So I'm going to demonstrate it. There's two different types. You can have the bike on the ground, or you can have it against the surface. So we're going to do bike on the ground first. So an easy way to do it is just to step over, lift the bike up, and sit down. All right, and then getting off, you can kind of dismount with one leg, or you can kind of reverse the action where you stand up, kind of slide the bike down, and step over. All right, next we're going to show getting on the bike safely when it's against the wall. So for this one, we're going to take the bike by two handles and have good support. All right, and you can either kick back and get on and sit down, or some riders might want to step over and sit down. All right, and getting off can be done the same way. Some other things to consider when getting on and off the bike are that some riders might be able to get on and off easily the first time, and some might take a little more time to do it safely. The end goal is always to be to get on and off the bike as safely and independently as possible. Some of the common safety issues are picking up the bike safely and the balancing to step over. Some strategies you can use are verbal cues. For example, grab both handlebars, step over with one foot. Other strategies are partial assistance, so using one hand just kind of assist them to pick up the bike, or maybe just a cue on the back to give them a little extra balance. Another strategy is demonstration, and another part is practicing one part at a time. So if they're having trouble picking up the bike, just practice picking up the bike and putting it down, or stepping over. Alright, so now we're going to talk about adjusting the bike in good alignment. So, when you have someone on the bike, you want them to have a slight knee bend and be able to keep an upright posture. So, if I'm on this bike, I have a lot of knee bend, alright, so I need to raise the bike seat in order for me to use it properly. So, I'm going to unclasp, I'm going to adjust the seat up to what I think is good. Alright, I'm going to get back on. Alright, and you can see now I have a slight knee bend. So this is kind of a more appropriate alignment. The other thing to look out for if it's too tall, so if I raise it up even more, you'll see I'm here, and now my feet are kind of straight and my leg is straight, alright? And in order to go, I'd have to use my tippy toes. So that is an example of being too tall. Alright, in this section, we're going to adjust the handlebars. There isn't a set alignment, just some things to keep in mind. You don't want your arms too extended, and you don't want the handlebars too low. So it should be comfortable and easy to use. So for this, we're going to need our Allen wrench. Alright, I'm going to loosen, for this one I'm loosening the first two. On other bikes it might have a different mechanism, just look in your manual. So I'm here. Adjust it, so this would be my arms too straight out. When I'm riding, my arms are just too straight. Alright, and this would be an example of it being too low. It might be hard for me to steer. So right here in the middle, slight bend, this is the most comfortable for me. I'm just going to tighten up all the bolts I loosened, and I'm going to check to make sure it's secure. The next skill set is moving forward. There are three main types of moving forward. Striding, which is kind of like walking, two-legged push-off, and one-legged push-off. Your athletes might gravitate towards one, or they might be able to do all three. Alright, the first skill we're going to be doing is striding. This should be more like walking, so you're going to do 1 foot alternating. Alright, so we're going to do a basic one first. So I'm keeping my arms straight, I have a nice good posture, alright, and I'm just taking small steps forward, nice and easy. Alright, the next is going to be a full stride. So this is going to involve a larger reach out and a larger pull back, alright, but there's still no push off. So and again, I'm keeping good alignment. Alright, and this last progression is a fast stride. So it's similar to the other ones, except this one I'm going to have a push off at the end of each step with a slight glide in there, okay? So a slight glide where my feet aren't touching. Alright, so this is a common problem with striding. It involves keeping the bike straight. So you'll see it affects my steering and the angle of the bike. I'm shifting my weight. If I don't have good arm control, I'm going to turn a lot. If you're seeing an athlete doing an excessive motion with the bike, this might be something where they need to either kind of keep their head midline or just kind of have a firmer grip on the bike. So if I have a firmer grip on the bike and I'm seated, also sometimes this might be they're going too fast for what they can handle. Another issue you might find is for striding is when they have trouble controlling their body side to side. This results in kind of irregular stepping. and usually they kind of lean and kind of will tilt over to one side. The bike will kind of follow after though. It's not usually the bike that goes side to side, it's usually the athlete. So it kind of looks like this. I look at my bike straight, but my body isn't. Alright, so if you're seeing they're having trouble keeping their body straight, I would kind of recommend that you kind of maybe dial back the pace, really get them to get used to having even stride. Sometimes that's kind of a really important factor. If they haven't had even stride, when they get faster, it's just going to become more pronounced. Alright, the next skill for moving forward is a two-legged push-off. This is kind of like a frog hop, so I want to push off with both feet at the same time. There will be a little bit of rocking of your trunk back and forth. It's okay as long as it doesn't disturb your riding. All right, and it shouldn't be too great. All right, so we'll start with the basic one. So this is going to be with small hops. Okay, so I'm here, and it just takes small hops. And everyone includes a small glide. Alright, next we're going to do a more advanced one. So this one's going to involve a bigger hop. My legs are going to travel a little bit more. Alright, and it's going to have a little bit more of a glide. So you can see my trunk is moving a little bit, but it's okay because I'm still able to go. Alright, our last progression is going to be a fast two-legged push-off. So this one involves a little bit of strength, so it's a bigger push-off, same motion as before, but it involves more gliding and a little bit quicker footwork. So, and you can see I build up speed. Alright, so here are some problems you might see with two-legged push-off. You may see an exaggeration of kind of trunk movement and also uneven push-off. Right now I'm going to just go over the exaggeration one. So they're kind of exaggerate the forward and backward, and they kind of like lose their balance, and it makes it very difficult to steer as they get better. So here's kind of what it looks like. Alright, another problem you might see with the two-legged push-off is an uneven push-off. So while they're trying to do 2 feet, one foot is either more powerful or is leading before the other. This could either result in them kind of tilting the bike or kind of like steering in one direction. So here's what it looks like. Alright, so some solutions for some of those problems are, if they have the exaggerated movement, try to get them to kind of engage their arms a little bit more. And the other one, they're kind of pumping their arms. If they keep their arms straight in a nice posture, that can work out. Again, that really is a problem when it comes to steering. So you might be able to get away with it when you're just going straight, but when it comes to steering, the exaggeration is going to really kind of make it very difficult to steer. So you can also incorporate maybe some small steering things where they're going to have to be able to keep their head up in order to steer properly. For the uneven push-off, if it's, I guess that kind of depending on how great it is, if it's really slight, you might be able to just get them into like a better rhythm of it. So it's still going to be uneven, but they're not going to be shifting their weight a little bit more, and they're still being able to turn and kind of maintain their speed. If it's really exaggerated, kind of like what I showed, I would just kind of dial it back a little bit and just have them do like a more basic one. And again, kind of like try just get a good rhythm of it, and then progress with a good rhythm and good alignment. Alright, the next movement forward is going to be a one-legged push-off. This is similar to the two-legged, but we're going to use one leg, and our other leg can be resting on the bike pedal, or whatever pad it has for support. Alright, this is really good for kids who have like one-side weakness and they still want to move around. Alright, so I'm going to put my one foot on, I still keep my balance, I'm going to push off, nice and slow. So this is a basic one, where I'm just doing slow hops, dragging my foot forward. Alright, this is a more advanced one. So this one I'm just going to have greater push-off with my pushing leg. The amount of glide you'll be able to do depends on how much you'll push off. You might see someone kind of shift their weight a little bit more. As long as it doesn't disturb their riding, it's fine. So really using my leg full range. Some problems with the one-legged push-off are one, just being able to kind of get that leg, the one leg to move fast enough. And the other one is just kind of be the weight shift. You'll see sometimes they kind of shift their weight back and forth a lot in order to do that. It makes it really difficult to steer, and you always have to worry about kind of falling because the other leg is kind of propped up. All right, so here's kind of what it looks like. All right, so some solutions to the for the one-legged push-off are if they're doing it and they have a lot of lean, try to get them, kind of slow it down, maintain their good alignment, and that kind of so they're not like just leaning all over the place. Because a lot of times they're trying to gain speed, but again, it makes it really hard for them. And sometimes if they push off, they're trying to steer, they could fall over. If they're already going slow and they're still doing it, I recommend kind of like breaking up. So it's going to look a little choppy because they're going to kind of do like a one step and stop, a good push off and a stop. So we're emphasizing the good fours. They're just going to stop in between, and they'll gain fluidity and they'll be a little more natural the stronger, more confident they get. All right, so in this section we're going to talk about braking. Really important for safety. Just to review, braking is important, just for general stopping. Also, to avoid objects. Ideally turning and veering so you don't hit the object is first, but braking is a really important safety feature. So there's three main types of braking. There's hand braking, all right? There's foot braking, and then there's like fast stomp braking. The hand braking, when you do that, you need to have a hand big enough and strong enough to pull the brakes and hold it, all right? Also making sure your bike has hand brakes. The foot brake is going to be if they're kind of going kind of a slow, so it's kind of just putting your feet down. And then the fast stomp braking, this is really used for someone who is going fast. Usually if you're going fast, I would recommend the hand brakes though. So if you're smaller and you can't use the hand brake because your hand is too small or not as strong enough, you would use the fast stomps to kind of stop like that. All right, in this section, we're going to discuss steering. One really important thing with steering is that when you steer, just the handlebars move, so it's just an arm motion, no head, no body steering. So for steering, as far as the progressions go, it's really just like a slight veer, and then it kind of gets like more and more handlebar movement. We'll also try to incorporate a one-legged push-off into steering, and that could help too. Another important thing about steering is that this is ideally your primary way for safety to avoid obstacles. So I'm steering away, I'm veering away from the obstacles. All right, and let's go through some examples. All right, so the first real basic way is just veering. So this is a slight movement of the handlebars while you're going forward. So I'm here, I'm striding forward, and then I just slightly move my handlebars, and I veer away from my object. All right, our next one is just going to involve a little more excursion. This challenges your balance more because as you're turning more, you need to keep your posture more upright, all right? So here is what it looks like. So I'm striding, more excursion. All right, and our last one is going to be with more excursion. So this is a big turn. One thing to watch out for is kind of jackknifing the bike so it's all the way over. Make sure that doesn't happen. So you need to have, again, really good control while you're doing it. So I'm here. Sometimes when athletes having trouble maintaining their speed while steering, the steering might be good, but maybe the forward momentum isn't. You can try using the one-legged push-off. So the trick is, the way I'm turning this way, I'm going to have this leg down. So I'm here, I start my turn, and I'm just using my one leg to kind of push off. All right, and for steering, an advanced progression would be being able to change directions right away. So this is useful for games, for playing with friends, and this is a more advanced steering. So here, I'm changing, I'm adjusting my feet. In this section, we're going to talk about gliding. Gliding is like one of the really advanced levels for the balance bikes. So this involves being able to move forward while not having your feet touching the floor. There's three kind of components that really kind of help with mastering gliding. It's comfort, power, and fluidity. So comfort is just like being okay with not having your feet on the floor and in control. Power is just the force you can generate with your feet. So gliding does require some power. So if you have someone who is maybe weaker legs or has trouble generating force, it's going to be really difficult for them to glide. And the last one's fluidity. So for gliding, you want to have nice, smooth movements with your legs in order to keep up gliding. All right, so now we're going to go through different glide progressions. So the first one's going to be a striding progression. So for this one, I'm doing little glides in between each stride. All right, so this is a basic one. And I have a little bit of glide, and I can push off, and I have more glide in between. All right, so this is going to be a more advanced glide for striding. So the pattern is going to be stride, glide, and stride again. So I stride, I get my speed, I glide, and then I stride again. All right, next I'm going to demonstrate an advanced 2-foot push-off glide. So the order is going to be 2-foot push-off, glide, 2-foot push-off. And just so you know, the progression for this and the single leg push-off is going to be the same, all right? But we're going to just demonstrate the 2-foot push-off. So here, I'm pushing off, I get speed, I glide, and then I go back to a 2-foot push-off. All right, thank you for watching the balance bike training video. Hopefully you've got a good idea of what you need to run a program and skills to use. Hopefully help you and your athletes stride to great success.